Welcome to this video, a new part of opening disasters. Yeah, this time I'm not going to show you just one game or one game fragment, but four. Yeah, four games or four positions, key positions. It's about not a specific move order or opening, but rather a motif that keeps popping up. I'm going to start with one game that is actually very well known. Probably some of you have seen it. It is a very famous loss by former world champion Anatoly Karpov. Let's see what happened in this game. White was Larry Christiansen, one of the top players of the United States for I know, probably two decades, yeah, from the late 70s to the 90s. Larry is still a very good player. He's also regularly playing on the ICC, but I don't match him a lot because he's just a bullet addict. So it's not playing longer time control like Blitz, at least. Okay, we have Queen's Indian Defense, one of Karpov's trademark openings that he has championed over the years. And Larry goes for A3, the Petrosian variation. Yeah, it is named after the world champion Tigran Petrosian, and it is a prophylactic move, pretty typical of Petrosians. This bishop b4 once is often harassing white, so he's preventing it. In fact, I think this is not only a prophylactic move, but a rather aggressive move, because what white wants to do, he wants to play e4 later. And here, after Karpov has provoked queen to c2, white gets in e4. Yeah, for this tempo a3, you get a little bit of an increased control of the center, so you can actually go with e4. Karpov took on d4 and now played knight c6. Yeah, quite interestingly, we got a pawn structure that is rather typical of the Sicilian, actually. It's more like a Sicilian structure than a, let's say, typical d4 structure. Or it also could arise from the English opening, where c and d pawn are traded. Yeah, now white played the move bishop f4. Here white actually has a choice. He can play this move, bishop e3, bishop e2. Yeah, many possible moves. Here Karpov played the move knight to h5. This move is still totally okay. I mean, this game is from 1993, I'm sorry. Something that I should add, more than 20 years old, but this is still a very relevant line nowadays. Knight h5, attacking the bishop, and the bishop retreated to e3. Yeah, the reason why black played knight h5 is that he wants to fight for this diagonal and ultimately for the e5 square. He wants to control this diagonal and the e5 square. And here Karpov played the move bishop to d6. Okay. A move that looks slightly unnatural because it places the bishop ahead of his pawns. Yeah? Something like bishop e7 looks more normal. But what black wants to do, he wants to put the bishop on e5 and actually get some pressure here. So from a strategic point of view, this move is totally in line with black's strategy. However, if you look at this position, and maybe you don't know it, it's possible, of course. If you don't know it, have a look at this. In fact, the game only lasted exactly one more move. Then Karpov resigned. Yeah, I will show you the move. White now played the funny move queen to d1, just back to d1, and it's a double attack. There is absolutely no way to protect both pieces. So Karpov resigned. Yeah, this was one of the most shocking losses ever by world champion, probably. But it's the kind of thing that sometimes can really happen, especially if you consider that Karpov at the time had played this line quite often as black and with good success. In those other games that he had before this encounter with Christiansen, he had played the move queen to b8 all the time, and then the next move was almost invariably bishop to d6. And what Karpov did, he simply confused the move order, I guess. So he was sort of in his mind, he already had the queen on b8 and he just went bishop d6 without probably reflecting that much. Yeah, and then it hit him. Yeah, with queen to d1. What this example shows, however, is that one thing should raise our level of alertness all the time. Unprotected pieces, especially on the rim of the board. This knight is on the edge of the board and is unprotected. So it is vulnerable to attacks. If it is attacked, it has to react in a way. It has to move or it has to be protected. And this kind of liability can prove very costly if there is some other thing happening that is not really harmonious in your position. So if you decide to put some knight on the edge of the board, especially it applies to knights, then this kind of sideline piece is always something that should make you more alert to tactical ideas. This is the first sample that I wanted to show. I'm going to show you one another. Okay, this is the second example for this theme, for this subject of this video. Again, Kirill Georgiev, Grandmaster from Bulgaria, against Gilles André, a French international master. It's from 1984. Let's have a look. It's a London system, quiet opening. Black reacts, I think, in a pretty standard and good fashion. He fianchettos his queen's bishop. And now he plays knight h5. Yeah, note, it is knight h5 again. This knight is on the edge of the board and it is unprotected. Bishop g5. It's not a bad move though. I mean, I just want to point out the similarities. Bishop g5. White wants to not allow the trade of his bishop against the knight. Bishop to e7. And the bishop was traded. So I think what black did with knight h5 was pretty okay. There's nothing wrong about it. Still, he has to take note, this is unprotected. White now went a4. An interesting idea. Pushing the flank pawn here to maybe create some weakness on the queen side. Black played the move d6. And after a5, he went knight d7. So he completed, no, or not completed, but he got his knight out into the game. And it looks pretty okay, yeah, what he has. But the only thing that still is a little bit worrisome is the knight on h5. Now a6 was played. The bishop is attacked on b7. And André now played the move bishop to c6. Yeah. And again, I'm asking you, have a look at this position and try to find the best continuation for white. I know that this particular game example is not so well known, so probably it's nothing that, like in the Karpov, Christian Karpov game, you might have seen before. So take a bit of time and try to find out what white should do here. Okay, I'm putting it on the board now. Georgiev now played the move d5, and after d5, the black player resigned the game. Yeah, that's a really funny move. It is a pawn sacrifice, but what should black do? If he takes it with the pawn, then white plays the move knight d4. And this is a double attack, yeah? This bishop on c6 and the knight on h5, they are both hanging. So it's a double attack again. The loose piece on h5 hangs, the bishop hangs. Very nice. And what about bishop takes, which is probably the more natural choice? Yeah, then white plays the move c4. And this is again really funny. If black takes, queen takes is a double attack again on the rook and on the knight. Bishop c6. Okay. We know the trick already. a double attack. So quite comparable to the Christiansen-Karpov game, there was a double attack striking because of this loose piece on h5, which is unprotected. What black really should have done, I mean here, he could have avoided immediate disaster by playing bishop c8, which is not really great, but at least it's not allowing the double attack theme. Or he could have done something different here to avoid the biggest problems. Yeah, maybe just retreat this piece and make sure that it's not attacked. I mean a6, yeah, is kind of uncomfortable for black maybe already, but you can go here and it's nothing terrible happening. But it's very important to note that, again, putting the knight on the edge of the board in an unprotected state, it entails some risk, yeah, and the tactical liability of your position is increasing. So always be very alert if you decide to put something on the edge in an unprotected state. It is very dangerous sometimes. Let's have a look at yet another example. Yeah, this is a game between Branko Damljanovic. This is a grandmaster. Well, I'm not totally sure if he is from. At the time the game was played, it was Yugoslavia, but it's from 1987. I'm not sure if he's from Croatia or. So I think from Croatia, but I'm not totally sure. I'm sorry about that. And black is Petar Lukács, very well respected player from Hungary, a top theoretician. He's working with lots of Hungarian top players on their theoretical knowledge and understanding. Yeah, this is a game, as mentioned, from 1987, and again we have the London system. It's quite funny, but I found those games totally independently. That is two times this relatively tedious opening, but have a look. Again, the black player is deciding to play with knight h5, attacking this bishop on f4, bishop g5, and queen b6. To be honest, I mean, Lukács is a really well prepared player, but I think he had an off day when he selected this kind of line. I really don't like it at all. He's putting this knight on the edge of the board, and he's getting his queen out early. I don't think that this is really a great idea. But let's see what happened here. h6 to attack the bishop, and knight c4. Yeah, attacking the queen. Yeah, queen has to retreat. Went to c7. Bishop h4. g5. Okay. So what black wants to do, he wants to make some sense of his knight on h5. So if white now plays bishop g3, black is happy to trade off this bishop and get rid of his knight. And this kind of position is probably okay for black. Yeah, still nothing brilliant, but note that he's still behind in development, but at least he's got the two bishops and there is nothing terrible happening to him immediately. In the game, however, after g5, Damljanovic played much stronger. He played knight f2 e5. Aha! Again, we have this attack on this loose piece. And what should black do now? If he takes on h4, white is simply taking the knight, threatening checkmate here, or almost checkmate on f7. h4 hangs, and I mean there is really no move that black can play in this position. So a terrible state that he already is in. Yeah, he went back with the knight, not the capture. Went back with the knight to f6. And now bishop g3. Yeah, intending all kinds of discovered attacks by the knight. d6 was played and queen f3. Note, this has already this kind of snowballing effect. Black has lost lot of time with knight h5, back, queen b6, back to c7. And this snowballing effect means that with further development of white's pieces, he is attacking the weak spots and loose spots in black's camp, and even increases his lead in development. Here, the queen comes out with a tempo on the knight. It needs to be protected. Bishop e7. And now white already had a decisive tactical strike, which is no surprise as he is so much better developed. Knight takes d6 check. yeah, bishop d6, queen takes is very easy. So black needs to take with the queen, and after bishop b5, the game was over. Yeah, black has absolutely no reply. On a king move, I mean, this is just losing the queen very simply. This is losing the queen. Or he can put some piece on d7, after which white will capture with a discovered attack. And he's threatening, wow, a double check and whatever, winning basically all pieces. So a total disaster. Yeah, this kind of disaster is really due to the fact that, again, there was a piece placed on the edge of the board, the knight on h5, which was unprotected, and this allowed this kind of idea like knight f2 e5, where the queen all of a sudden attacks this loose piece, and this led to this kind of snowballing effect, where white is getting a bigger and bigger lead in development, and ultimately got a decisive attack on black's king and unlucky position queen. So again, be careful with putting those pieces on the edge of the board. I'm going to show you a fourth example, actually, from a different opening. Let's put the starting position on the board to see the whole thing. This is a game where we see a white player that I don't know, Enver Berisha, playing against Oleg Romanishin. Romanishin is a very well-known, respected grandmaster and a very creative player. If you want to look at interesting creative check out chess, check out Romanishin's games. He's a very interesting player. This game is from 1972 in a junior championships in Sinowitz. Okay, this is actually the Nimzo Indian, and I found this game while I was researching for my book. So we have a Rubinstein, and in fact we have the Hübner variation, at the time a very popular line, also due to Fischer's use in the World Championship match. In fact, this game was actually played, let me think about it, this is September 72. I'm not quite sure. I think the match was already over at the time, September 72. But okay, it's not that important. We have this typical structure. It's a very closed position. Castles, castles. And now it's white to move. The white player now has a wide choice. We have this closed center. And the most popular way to play this now for white, it's not a very popular position, but there are a number of games. Normally what white is doing here, he's moving the knight on f3 somewhere, because he ultimately probably wants to play e4, f4 or f4, just like that. For example, let's say knight d2 is a possibility, after which black again has a number of moves. Let's say he plays a quiet move h6, then white is going to play something like f4. This is a typical idea. White wants to use the f-pawn to attack the center. However, if you look at a database like the one I'm using, what most people are using, the mega database from ChessBase, this is about 6 million games in total. There is also a number of games, about 15, 16 games or something, where white is playing the move knight to h4. Knight to h4, yeah, we know the deal. Those kind of knights on the edge of the board can be tricky. However, in this position, it is not, I mean, where is the tactic, yeah? Why should this be a mistake? Is it a mistake? As mentioned, there are like 15, 16 games in my database. And in fact, there is this one game between Berisha and Romanishin where the black player actually found the refutation of the move. Knight h4 is a big mistake, but it is such a hidden resource that lots of strong players as black, even some grandmasters, didn't find the refutation. But Romanishin actually was able to do it in one of the earliest examples, but it is obviously not a well-known trap, or I mean, it's not a trap. Yeah, white is basically digging his own grave. Yeah, maybe you can try to find it. I mean, if you know that there is a direct tactical solution to the whole thing, then the chance is much higher that you see it. But if you don't know that there is a direct refutation of the move, it is all the more difficult. Yeah, black here is winning with the move e4. Aha. So why is he winning? Yeah, white can take it. This is what happened in the game, of course. Let's check what happens if he moves the bishop. Then we go g5, and this knight has no square. It's just lost, attacked and lost. So white took it. Knight takes, queen takes, and now again the move g5. And I think this is what makes the whole thing so difficult to find as black. You are very often reluctant to consider those kind of weakening moves in front of your king. And here it is simply a concrete reason for the move. The knight is attacked. It cannot go to f5, the square is double protected, so there's only knight f3 to save it. And after that, black is playing bishop f5 and the queen is trapped. In the middle of the board, the queen is trapped. g5 has taken away those two key squares, and bishop f5 just attacks the queen and it's gone. So that means after g5, this piece is lost because, well, you want to save your queen. And in the game here, the white player went with, not with this, but with f4. And now after the move, I mean, there are alternatives already, but after f5, he sacrificed his knight there and now played with the piece down. It just took a couple of moves now for Romanician to win the game. He also has this great bishop here, extra bishop. Yeah, a really fun line that is really hidden in the position. So let us look at it again. The whole reason again is an offside piece that is unprotected on the edge of the board. In all the cases that we looked at here, it was the knight on h4, but there is basically the same thing happening with the knight on a5 or a4. Maybe h-file is more critical even, because a knight on a4 or a5 quite often is naturally protected by the queen. Yeah, if you imagine a knight on a5 very often is sort of protected by the queen, and on h4 it's not happening, or on h5 in black's case. Sometimes the problems with those moves are really hidden, like here. I mean, I really think that this is difficult to see as black, especially because you probably don't look for tactics in this position. You just think, okay, knight h4, he wants to play f4, maybe just go knight g6, trade this off, whatever. You have some difficult strategic considerations to make here, but in fact there is no strategy, you just win the piece. But difficult to spot. But okay, these examples, and there's a ton more, these examples show that this kind of motif happens again and again. It's history repeating itself with pieces on the edge of the board that are unprotected. The old John Nunn quote is really applying: loose pieces drop off, LPDO. It's really the case. If you have unprotected pieces, there is something bound to go wrong. So if you decide to play those kind of moves that put pieces offside, really double check again and again if this is if there is something bad possible happening to you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this coverage of those 4 game fragments, those 4 quick games that really show a danger that is around all the time. Please be careful. Thanks for watching.